Okay, good evening. Joined here today by Lee Pottinger from Torbay Tigers to talk about all things Tigers. So, Lee, I'm going to apologise to you first because you're also known as P-Man many moons ago. So that's how I know you. So if I revert to that, I apologise. All right. Um, I'm going to get that one in right at the start. So tonight on After the Buzzer, just discussion about all things Torbay Tigers. So. A club with a lot of history, obviously. A club like most clubs that have had its highs, I'm not necessarily going to say lows, but peaks and troughs, like everything as people come and go. So, formed, I believe, by the mighty Rick Waldridge and Norman Waldron a number of years ago. You've just passed your 50th anniversary, haven't you? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So, I think 1973 was the day it was formed, and we held our the 50th anniversary of the club at the end of our 50th season. So at the end of 2024, we held that celebration. Yeah, it's quite an event. We had players coming back from all generations, really. So some players who played in the very first Tigers team um, came back to see us, and some of our current players were there as well. We held kind of an all-day event where we carefully permitted some of the old boys to run. And
Experience the court one more time.
yeah, but we had to be certain that the defibrillator was working and nobody popped to their hips and things like that. But it was a it was a great day, and it kind of reminds us of the longevity of the club and um yeah, brilliant bringing people back. And I know lots of people there who didn't know each other over generations, so rekindling some of those relationships with people that did know each other as well was great. Yeah, really good day it was.
And the history of the club is um, immense for what is born of a small location. The Southwest isn't a hotbed of basketball. We moved down even further, and you're outskirts of Brixham, Churston, small town within Torbay, and yet from those foundations and from Churston Grammar School as a major contributor, probably, and due to Rick and Norman's influence, quite some teams were built there, weren't they? Quite some history of teams.
Yeah, real kind of legacy, kind of dynasty stuff was born out of Rick and Norman's influence, and yeah, that influence is still there as well. I mean, Norman's still extremely active within Tigers. Yeah, unfortunately, we lost Rick a few years ago now, but his influence is still there at every training session we have. And yeah, you mean you referenced the link between Churston and Tigers. It was really strong for many years. You know, the route into Tigers, well, it was Churston, and you might have the odd outlier talented player coming from another school, but you got into to Tigers by going to Churston. And in fact, that's how the club was formed. So Rick and Norman got a bunch of teachers together at Churston to begin with in the early days, teachers and some of the sixth form kids, and that was effectively the first Tigers squad. And obviously things evolved from there to change hugely from where we are today, looking back to there, but still having Norman involved heavily with what we do, kind of make sure that we keep some of the history and
The
the roots
ethos.
of the club.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ethos. What time is it? 7:34. It's a Tigers thing. We would always reference the time whenever anybody mentioned ethos.
Is that right? I wasn't aware of that.
It's something that Rick and Norman instilled upon us. It was quite easy back then, I think, to the culture of the club was born through the same people seeing each other a lot. So you saw each other at school, and then you saw each other at the club. It's quite different these days because that pathway into Churston isn't
It's not
isn't set
strong,
in
is it?
stone
No.
anymore. It's extremely varied, and which I think is great. You know, in terms of giving us more diversity and different views on the game. But it shifts the culture a little bit because those historic values that Tigers tried to live to, we have to try and teach people the history of the club these days because they haven't necessarily lived it like we did in the past.
I always remember from officiating with Rick, um, you know, quite a few things, and I'm not going to mention that word again, but the etiquette of playing or wearing that Tigers shirt, and even Rick would be on the sidelines and said he's got his shirt untucked. That's not Tigers. Give him a technical, he'll soon learn. And comments like that, and he hasn't got it right yet. Just keep an eye on him. I'm happy with whatever you do, how you treat him.
Yeah, very much so. There was, and to this day, it's well, we kind of refer to Rick and Norman as almost as a bit of a double act. You don't mention one without mentioning
No.
the other, do you? And because Norman's still there doing stuff for us. I spoke to him a couple of seasons ago. He kind of stepped back a little bit, Norman, from regular involvement with Tigers, and I was keen to, not to waste that vast experience that he had. So I asked him to get involved, and one of the roles I wanted him to play was to be that little kind of echo on your shoulder, reminding us of when are we doing things the right way, keep us on the straight and narrow. Norman, tell us off if you think we're taking the club in the wrong direction. It's it's brilliant. It helps us maintain our vision and our focus of where we're trying to head to as a club.
And you came through the Tigers teams, didn't you, Lee?
Yeah, so I took the traditional route. So yeah, I went to Churston, did my GCSEs there, did my A levels there, followed that traditional path. And when you were a junior playing for the school team, you were also the foundations of the junior Tigers squad, and then transitioned into the men's senior team. At Churston, well, this is the legacy of Rick and Norman, really. Um, so Lloyd Blackler's year, who I'm sure many people who listen to this will be aware of Lloyd, still playing for Tigers now. So he was school years. They were 5 years older than us, and as a Churston under-19 men's team, they won the national schools competition, outright champions. And then 5 years later, my school year, we did the same thing. We repeated it, and that's not doing too much of a disservice to the players. I think we were. Lloyd would disagree with this next comment, but
You were
I
the
was about
better
to.
team.
Well, no, I wasn't going to say. I was going to say we were all, above average players, but we weren't outstanding. There was no, from either of those squads, there was no England players. There was no superstars, no GB representation. We were very, very well drilled, very, very well organised bunch of athletes who Rick and Norman turned into successful basketball players who played with each other a lot, both with school and with Tigers. And because of those hours of mentoring and coaching from two quality coaches, produced two national championships winning sides for Churston. And as a knock-on effect from that, Tigers clearly benefited because we were 18, 19, and then we're stepping up
To
to
the men.
Tigers first team. And yeah, that was, as I say, back then that was the traditional route to get into Tigers. Very, very different now, I think.
I, again going back to myself officiating at Tigers matches. I think it always Churston School and Torbay Tigers, but generally it'd be Churston schoolboys, always surprised teams from larger areas that came down. I don't think anyone once they'd been down there would have liked to have played Tigers at Churston, or sorry, Churston schoolboys at Churston. It was I'm not going to say it was a loud venue, but it certainly you knew you were at an away venue when teams came down there. And to see lots of smaller in build lads come up against other lads from up country surprised a lot of them, and you could see it straight away. I mean the Churston and the Tigers bit of straight from the off, it was at it. You were at the opposition. There was a press on, and sometimes before away teams and away coaches had got to grips with it, they could have been 20 points down from turnovers. It was very
Yeah,
fast and intense.
yeah. I think there's kind of a common theme that's always run through the club. So we've always Rick was absolutely insistent. We're a fast break team. If there's players ahead of the ball, they get the ball. You advance the ball down the court as quickly as you can. And a favourite word for Norman has always been intensity. It doesn't mean running around like headless chickens, but you play with intensity all the time. Intensity on offense, intensity on defense, and a lot of the time it was the defense, which I think that won us matches. We were very well organised. Our help defense was great. Always prepared to step into the lane to take charges. Yeah, there was no protected semicircle back then, Carl, so you could get more of them.
Yes, quite true. So, I mean, obviously, unfortunately, Rick's passed on now. But going through the area where Rick and Norman, to a certain extent, stepped back slightly, um, I would say Tigers probably went through one of their troughs because not disintegrated completely, and it's very easy for clubs to dissolve when figureheads move on. Because basketball does take over lives. We know that it's all encompassing. Um, Tigers always had people that would step up, always had people that would come through, and we had one of them the other night. Obviously, Troy Cully was having a conversation with us the other night about his route into basketball coaching via Rick, via Torbay Tigers. But it lost the momentum. From the outside, the club lost a bit of momentum. It went through a few sticky years, but it's on its way back up again, from what I've seen.
Yeah. So I think it was just different. So there was a lot of Tigers activity happening. So there's always been stuff going on, maybe not achieving some of the heights we've done previously, but then I think that is a little bit tricky to do when you have a bit of a void from such influential characters like Rick and Norman stepping away. Um, but yeah, Chris Mackey did some great work, guiding a lot of the junior teams entering National League. The YMCA Torbay Tigers at the time. There's that partnership. Um, Toby and Nathan Chance pulled the reins for a number of years. Again, focused a lot on community basketball and some of the junior stuff. But then, yeah, I got speaking to Toby and Nathan. I don't know, quite years kind of fly by, don't they, when you're involved in this sport? But might have been about 6 years ago. Where I was speaking to them. I'd been away from the game for a little while, so I got injured, did my ankle ligaments, rebounded and landed on one of my own teammates, size 15 feet. So that put me on the sidelines when I was about 30. I had to stop playing, and I had about 10 years out of the game. 10 years of being a bit grumpy because I can't play anymore. And the likes of you, Carl, would say to me, "What about reffing?" I'll go, "No, I'm not reffing." Norman and Rick would say, "What about coaching?" "No, I'm not coaching. I was just grumpy that
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't
want
play."
to
So
play.
about 10, yeah.
Yeah.
So about 10 years of me being grumpy, I was away from the sport, and then it took my kids to arrive and them to start throwing a basketball around down at the local beach court, and I started shooting with them, and then I thought, oh, this would be interesting. So they started playing with the Tigers juniors through Toby Chance and Nathan Chance, Love Sport program, and then I found myself being the taxi driver taking my kids to basketball events. And I thought, well, this is a bit daft. I could be helping these guys out and volunteering with them. I'm here anyway. So that's what I did. So I started assisting those guys. And then I did my level one with Rick, actually, years and years ago when I was still at school. And then I did my level two coaching course when I was at university up in Leeds. Um, so I had that, but I'd been away for a while. So I kind of did a refresher of my level two and stepped in, and before I knew it, I was leading one of the age groups, and then leading another one, and then another one, and then before I knew it, I was then Toby and Nathan that they had priorities elsewhere. So I said, well, give me the reins on. I'll take I'll take care of it, and I did, and that's when that conversation with Norman came in. I said, well, let's try and get the club back together because the men's team, the seniors, were always there doing their own thing. But I thought, let's get all of us back together under under the big Tigers family umbrella again. And yeah, so I've been heading that up for the last kind of 5 or 6 seasons.
And there's been, especially in the last couple of seasons, a lot of movement, a lot of junior players' involvement. I mean, we're always getting, this isn't just Torbay, we're always getting messages from my little Jimmy wants a club. He's 6 years old, 8 years old, 12 years old, whatever. We get them coming in all the time, and it's always very difficult to find places because court availability is difficult, coaching availability is difficult, and it comes down on singular people to keep that churn going, and you know it becomes too much and a thing. But the last couple of seasons, definitely last season, there's an enormous growth going on in Torbay,
Yeah.
isn't there, with basketball?
Yeah, and we I recognised that quite early on as well. Lots of people were asking, but we were kind of a closed shop because we had a coach, and a coach can handle, I don't know, 15 players. Any more than that becomes hard and starts impacting the players themselves. Too much waiting around. So once the squad's full, the squad's full. So we did an awful lot of saying no to potential new players for a long time, and but for exactly the reasons you've described, court availability was one, but coach qualified coach availability was the other, and just volunteers, was hard. It is tough. Everyone's busy, aren't they? But asking people to give up their free time to benefit somebody else's kids is tricky. You really need to find people that really love to do that kind of stuff. So for a long time, we were saying no, but we had a friend of mine from the Churston under-19 national championship team, which I referenced earlier. So Duncan Ironmonger, he was the captain of our school team, and he's done well for himself out in the States in business. And he phoned me up, and so ex-Churstonian, ex-Tiger, he said to me, he said, "P-man, I've done all right myself. I've got a little bit of cash. I want to help out Tigers. What can I do? What do you need?" And at the time, I was going, "Oh wow, we could do with a new first aid kit. That'd be great, and maybe a new score paddle too. That'd be brilliant." And we ended up talking a little bit broader. He's talking about giving us more financial support than that, and basically gave us the confidence to start saying yes to kids. So yeah, we're pushing those conversations with him. Right, how do we say yes to them? So okay, we need more courts. Okay, can we get them? So did a little bit of work with the local council to try and get a couple of local courts up to spec. And then, right, how for us to coach them, we need coaches. So Dunk helped us out with some sponsorship from one of his companies, which enabled us to put a bunch of guys through their level two. But the key thing for us was we had, we started turning Tigers into, I'm going to say a business. It's not a business, we're a charity, but at the time, we weren't anything. We were just a loose collection of pals all pulling together, doing something that we love, collecting a few pennies in and then paying for the court hire and having no pennies left. That's what pretty much most clubs in the Southwest do, I think. But Duncan challenged us to operate more and try to become a little bit more self-sustaining. So what do we need to do um, to get more coaches, to potentially pay coaches, so that we can say yes to these new kids. So Duncan's money, and he hasn't given us a lot, to be fair. His money gave us the confidence to do this, knowing that we had a little bit of a backstop should things go wrong. But yeah, we've managed to put a load of relatively young guys, 18, 19, 20-year-olds through their level two. So current kind of first team, second team players got trained up, and the enticement was, well, yeah, why work a couple of shifts at Costa or at the pub when we can pay you probably not the same, but it's more enjoyable getting a few quid an hour to work for Tigers. So we moved to that model. That meant it was quite hard work actually, because you've got to do, there's tax implications and all that sort of stuff. So we had to set ourselves up as a charity, which was a piece of work in itself, but that enabled us then to be officially recognised, to be registered with HMRC. So we now do pay our coaches a little bit of money to run their sessions, and they've all got as they would these days. They've all got an app on their phone where they log their hours and they get taxed and pay national insurance for it, and it all works really well. But that's one of the key steps in us becoming sustainable and moving forward. Yeah, we want to get to a stage where we're not just relying on the willing few. In the past, your coaches would do, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 sessions a week. Now we've got, crikey, I think 15 coaches all doing 1 or 2 sessions a week and getting a little bit of money for it. And because we're saying yes to new players rather than no, that money is, we're funding ourselves. We're not using Duncan's money for that. All of our players are paying about £8 an hour, and that funds what we're doing. We're not making a profit. We can't. We're a charity, so any money that we get goes back into the running of the club. Crikey, I've been rambling on there. When I
No,
kind of
it's,
boil it down, it realizes how much we've just done in the last couple of years. But
I
yeah,
was going to say, and a lot of that's in the last year, to be fair. I know I've said
yeah,
last couple, you probably started the conversation. Well, we know when you started the conversation, it's probably with the reunion. So
yeah,
you're
yeah,
probably looking from there, and most of it's gone into practice within this last year. And I think you said it's allowed you the confidence to plan for the future.
yeah,
And, you formalize things, which is obviously helping everyone and enables you not to say no to someone. Someone wants to come and get involved in basketball, and you've got coaches that aren't doing it every night. So that's sustainable in itself. They're thinking, right, okay, well, 1 night a week, 2 nights a week, I can manage that. I don't have to
yeah,
think about 7 nights a week.
yeah. That's exactly that. But with that comes, it kind of spirals though, because you need more resources. Then you're running that many squads with that many coaches. Those coaches are quite new, so they need a fair bit of support. So Norman's been absolutely wonderful with this. So Norman's been going along to a lot of the sessions, not leading them, but mentoring our new coaches. Lloyd's been doing a fair bit of that himself as well, which has been great. I've been helping out with that. But also, lots of teams, they want matches, which suddenly means, and you all know this more than
Yeah.
anyone, Carl, that the demands on officials. Um, I don't think Tigers historically have been that great at providing officials for local leagues, for EDBA. And we were quite keen. I was always, no offense, Carl, but when I'd see you refereeing some of our matches, I thought, oh no, Carl's here, and we're embarrassed because we haven't provided any referees this season. So that was something that we wanted to change as well. And although I don't think any of our new coaches, sorry, our new refs have done any matches yet. I think we put 6 through the level 2 ref course last year. They attended the practical session with Darren Bolt up at Exeter Uni. And most of those guys have been refereeing their practice matches, so they're pretty much ready to start their assessment games now. So hopefully we'll be able to feed them in, and it's the same with our table officials as well. We've put 4 people through their level 2 table official
It,
course as well. Just trying to build
it's
that
been a
strength in depth.
responsible club at the end of the day.
Yeah,
We all know we can't take forever. Um, you yes, there are players that just want to turn up and play, but at the end of the day, we've all got to be responsible all the way around. You've mentioned him a couple of times now, but Lloyd Blackler. So obviously Lloyd's been around for a long time, well known in the league, well known Tigers. What's his role within Torbay Tigers now? Because that's expanded, hasn't it? My understanding.
it has actually, and all that rambling I did a minute ago. I don't like to blow too much smoke in Lloyd's direction, shall we say? Um, so maybe I deliberately filtered him out of that conversation. Sorry, Lloyd. But yeah, it's quite radical what we've done with Lloyd this year. So we found ourselves in a position where, well, Lloyd found himself in a position where he was, let's say, at a crossroad in his career, and um,
That's more time available.
yes, and we at a time when Tigers was growing, and we were saying, right, we need lots of coaches, and we need lots of people to mentor lots of coaches, and we're going to have lots of kids coming through. And I was having a conversation with Matty Johnson, who's the chief executive at Reading Rockets. We know Matty very well, and Matty's been giving us a bit of guidance on how we evolve from little informal tigers to charitable status tigers. And Matty said, "Well, yeah, well, there's your answer, isn't it? Lloyd, employ Lloyd." And I, nearly fell off my chair. It takes my mind a bit of a time to catch up. So to me, there's quite a difference between paying coaches,
For an hour
a
here, an
few
hour
quid a
there.
week,
Yeah.
and then to shift into to pay, a full-time member of staff effectively, and then be responsible for them paying their mortgage and sustaining their family. Quite a responsibility for us to get it right, but we did it. And again, that was with that confidence that Duncan gave us. We didn't necessarily need his financial support for it, but knowing that it was there helped us hugely. So we've employed Lloyd this year as effectively our community coach development officer. So his remit has been supporting and mentoring our new coaches, helping with player recruitment, making sure kids are in the right squads, but also feeding future pipelines. So doing a lot of work with local primary schools, running PE sessions in local primary schools, generating new players for us. So the idea, we might be paying Lloyd now, but we might be receiving potentially an income from kids that Lloyd has found and developed for us. And then we turn those, we're starting. That's the other really exciting thing with this. Historically, Tigers have had under 12 teams. We've got kids playing for us now that are 6. Some of the stuff that Lloyd's been doing, going into primary schools. You get those kids bouncing the ball when they're 6, shooting the ball when they're 7, passing the ball when they're 8. They do fundamental skills already in place by the time they're under 12. We've got a bit of a vision about what we're trying to achieve. At the moment, the elite part up here is we might get there at some stage, but it's all about providing basketball opportunity to the masses and community sessions at the bottom of that pyramid. And Lloyd's role is crucial in generating some of that. And I sat down with Lloyd a couple of days ago, and we're due to sit down again on Thursday evening, just planning out next season. And just to put things into context, I think we've got 240 players on the books now, and it's growing every week with new requests. We're going to have an under 11 boys team, an under 10s girls team, an under 14 girls team, 3 under 12 boys teams, potentially 3 under 14. It's crazy. I think we've got 16 squads we're going to be running from September. And much of that has come from the new contact that Lloyd's generated. I do worry sometimes we've gone a bit too fast.
You're taking on a bit too much. And another sadly passed Roy Parslow quite often say one of his quotes, and you're talking obviously about the elite, etc. The bigger the base of the pyramid, the higher that pyramid will become. And part of that gets me annoyed slightly with Basketball England. It annoys me that they're only worried about the top bit and that functioning, and actually it's the grassroots and the numbers of children, as you said, that you got playing. I mean, by the time they come to under 12, under 14 level, what are we going to have? Or what are you going to have? Not we.
That's it. Imagine normally under 12s, they're footballers and rugby players that are all been chucked together for the first time and go and have a run. We conceivably will have a bunch of kids that have already been playing for 3 or 4 years by the time they start entering formal competitions. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, and then your men's team obviously won Exeter and District last year undefeated, which doesn't happen very often. Let's be honest.
A stunning year for them, really. I think in terms of personnel, they weren't too dissimilar from the team, the players that were there last year. There's been one notable kind of addition to the squad. Yeah, we've had Chris James, a point guard who's moved to the area relatively recently. But I think the key thing for the squad this year is there've been reliable attendance, and there was some struggles. Some of the individuals had some challenges last year, which meant didn't always get the same 12 attending training all the time. And I think last season, the season previous was, I think we suffered with some of our away willingness for some of those guys to travel to away matches. But because of issues in personal lives and stuff, it's North Devon find it tough traveling down to
Yeah.
us, and we find it tough traveling to them. I think on a Tuesday night, it's those glamour ties are tough when your wife's
Yeah.
telling you that you need to be at home looking after the kids. But those challenges seem to disappear this year. So there was a lot of regular attendance, and that group of players really performed well. Yeah, like you say, going undefeated all year was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the future hold for Tigers then? What's
Um,
vision or Tigers' vision?
well, it'd be extremely amiss of us not to talk about the launch of our ladies team as well. So I was speaking to some of our trustees. So we're charity, bunch of trustees are running the charity, and I was challenging us to think more broadly. There's no reason why we can't have as many female players in the club as male players. There's nothing stopping us, just other than our historic
Yeah.
mindsets. And um, so yeah, we've been running some girls squads this year. Our under 12, our mighty under 12 girls. We got them 2 matches this year away at Spartans, which was a great game. Um, and Spartans won that one, and then we went away to Colne Comets and sneaked a narrow victory away there. But brilliant, just the buzz that gave us as a club to see our girls playing.
Yeah.
First Tigers girls team, and then our ladies team, our adult ladies team, the Tigresses first year in the league. Bit of a baptism of fire. Oh, it was your lot, Carl. We played in the first match of the season. That was quite a toughie. Here
I
you go.
wasn't
Welcome to the
that.
league, ladies. But how they grew during the season, I
Yes.
think they ended the season with I think 2 victories in the league, and they just played last weekend. They played away at Bridport Ladies and had another victory there, and they're growing all the time. And again, we're recruiting now. With that, people are contacting us saying, "Oh, I hear you're running a ladies team," and we're finding new players. And it's not. I don't think it's players that are coming to us from other clubs, Carl. So I think we're growing. The word of mouth is growing
It,
the base and growing
it
the ladies.
happens, and clubs find when they've dropped teams from the league, actually players like to play competitive, don't they? Everyone likes a
Yeah,
game, whether you're a young tacker or an older player. It's training's one thing, but having a game is
yeah.
the bonus.
Exactly that, yeah. But as for our future, I think, which is what I think you asked, so it's all about inclusion. So how much, we've got to keep saying yes to people. We've got a meeting tomorrow night where Toby Chant, who I mentioned to you earlier, as part, he's historically done an awful lot of youth work in the Torbay area, member of our men's first team as well. We're going to be relaunching kind of Tigers in the community programs where we've got some concessionary rates from local sports halls that we're renting for a lot cheaper, and allowing kids to come to us for rates which would be much cheaper than what the standard Tigers squads we would charge them. And then also Toby's running sessions for free out on outdoor courts.
Hmm.
Some of that work will be supported by Lloyd as well. So again, we're not expected to turn all those guys into regular fee-paying Tigers week in, week out, but we're not trying to
It's
do that for
involvement,
everyone.
isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, it's get as many
involvement.
people playing as we can, and we think that good work that we do will be shared, and I think that will naturally generate more interest in what we're doing, and probably help feed other players into the club anyway. But yeah, we're trying. We're in discussions with local academic providers, local schools and colleges about pathways and partnerships and how we can work together to benefit both Tigers and those establishments. So we've got some conversations taking place with them, and all with a dream of feeding that base of the pyramid up towards the top to get elite pathways for odd individuals every now and then. So we've got think we've had 4 kids go through the Aspire talent pathway this year. One of our players, one of our under-16 National League team, Ashton Billingham, he's going through to the Central Tournament. So yeah, doing really well with the Basketball England talent pathway. And yeah, we want more of that. Just what happens to them after that. Tigers probably can't sustain players when they get to that level. What else can we give them? We can offer them National League conference at the moment, but if they want Prem or maybe elite basketball academies, then we're forging partnerships with the likes of Reading Rockets to potentially pass players on to them when they get to a certain level. So yeah, it's keep saying yes. We'll say yes to everyone and give them a pathway to continue.
No, that's brilliant. It's great to chat with you, Lee. All right, really great to see Tigers on the way up. This session, if you like, is open to any club. All right, I'm really pleased you're here. I've obviously got an affinity with Tigers, being as my local club, and having done so many officiating for Rick at Churston, etc. And there's always a friendly face there, unless I do a call wrong, shall we say? And then I get advised, normally in the past by Rick, that maybe I'm not on the same page as my co-official. Or I think he used to word it the other way around. Your co-official isn't on the same page as you. But no, great catching up with you. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I wish you all the success going forward. The foundations are obviously there, not just from the club, but obviously sustainability in the future. So thank you very much for your time. And
you're welcome, Carl. And Carl, can I just say as well, and I'm sure on behalf of everyone that's listening to this, the work that you're doing for DBA and Basketball in South West is phenomenal as well. Not least this new project that you're doing now with the podcast. It can't just miraculously happen. So you must be working your socks off. So from all the local ballers, thank you for your efforts.
It's not professional, but we try our best, don't we? Have a good day. All right.
Great. Thanks, Carl. See you soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.